Hello and welcome to The Insider, a show designed to clue you into the biggest news, events and announcements inside the video games industry, discussing with you some things you may know, some things you may not, and glue holds it all together is a little bit of my own opinion. My name is Paul James, thank you very much for watching, and let's continue our very special series of episodes dedicated to E3 2018.
The Elder Scrolls speak of the past and the future. Now, Skyrim looks to the future, to its ultimate version.
Alexa, play Skyrim.
You're level 57 and see a tall snowy mountain.
So Bethesda have just hosted their E3 2018 press conference. There was good, there was bad, and there was ugly from this conference, and we're going to discuss all of those things beginning next. So let's start by talking about some of the good things that we saw from Bethesda at E3 2018. Now, I had some negative things to say in my Microsoft episode about how they presented Fallout 76, and they did a much better job of that in their own press conference. Upon reflection, it was quite clear that they were gearing up and preparing for what they had to show up at their own conference, and really gave Microsoft a tiny little morsel that just kind of whet an appetite and garnered a bit of excitement, because it was at their conference where Todd Howard stood there and presented maybe 15 minutes of Fallout 76 related content, going through a bunch of little tutorials, talking about what the game is. It's an always online game that you can play solo if you like, but is clearly better with friends. I'm already starting to think of your Anthems, your Divisions, your Destinies, your Monster Hunters, those sorts of games. That shared world sort of experience. It is, at its core, still an RPG, but it's an online one. You can play with people, you can play against people. People could be your friends, people could shoot you and try and take you out. How you want to interact with others in that world is entirely up to you. But they were doing some really cool things, and for this personal, not massive big Fallout fan, I actually changed my tone somewhat. This game actually looks quite interesting, and I'm quite interested to see how they take what is established Fallout Bethesda sort of gameplay and drop that and apply it into an online setting that, despite being online, is still looking to harness much of what makes a single player Fallout game so popular.
Country roads, take me home to the place I belong, West Virginia, Mountain Mama.
For when the fighting is stopped and the fallout has settled, you must rebuild. Not just walls, not just buildings, but hearts and minds, and ultimately, America itself.
Country roads, take me home, country roads.
In Vault 76, our future begins.
Next, we'll talk about Rage 2. And Rage 2 was really interesting. It got a very fiery sort of opening there. There was a lot of energy, a lot of excitement, a lot of vibrato. There was a lot of craziness that really suits what this game is. Rage 2 is really trying to harness the best of Doom, Borderlands, Mad Max, Just Cause, a lot of the things that have, and of course the original Rage, a lot of things that actually made Borderlands so popular in recent years. They're kind of dragging and dropping that and applying it, and they're kind of putting the Avalanche spin on this Rage franchise, and Rage 2 is looking exceptional. There was a lot of people really excited. They showed us a lot of gameplay, clearly pre-prepared, lots of cut-up sort of stuff there, but it's looking really interesting, and I can't wait to see more of it next year.
It's time to party!
There was more great stuff for fans of Wolfenstein 2 and Prey, 2017 releases that are still getting a lot of love from Bethesda going forward. We're seeing VR modes being added, we're seeing DLC still coming to both games, there's lots of inclusions that are making these games, or extending these games' life, and owners of those games, or prospective owners of those games, especially in the case of Wolfenstein 2, which is only coming to Switch at the end of this month, should be really excited for what is still to come.
To survive, you have to embrace the suffering. To stand up and carry it. It's not about the pain you can deal. It's about how much you can take.
It's do or die, sis. Just like Papa taught us.
Now, before we jump on to the big hitters, the things that had me most excited about this conference, we need to talk about the Skyrim Skit that they did. It was exceptional. Bethesda is clearly attuned to the criticisms that they've received in recent years about, firstly, something that Todd addressed, the fact that their games release and they're typically quite buggy, and also the fact that Skyrim has come to every single conceivable platform, gaming platform known to man. And they really played into it with an amazing skit that showed how it was working on the Amazon Alexa platform, and then all of a sudden fridges and smart watches and all sorts of things. It was really quite funny. They did an excellent job. If you haven't seen it, please make sure to go and check it out.
A mud crab scuttles towards
First
you.
Roda!
I didn't catch that.
First Roda!
I didn't quite catch that.
First Roda!
Your shout echoes all the way to Sovngarde.
What happened?
First Roda. That's the command for knocking things over.
Is there a command for picking shit up?
Haven't reached that level yet.
And finally, we need to talk about the future. And it's something that Bethesda hasn't done much of in recent years. Their conferences historically have focused on what is coming this year, and maybe there'll be the slightest tease for what is to come, but not to the extent that they applied this year. They showed us Doom, they showed us The Elder Scrolls, and they showed us Starfield. Now the latter we'll start with. Starfield was trademarked years ago, and there'd been speculation that maybe at some point they'd actually work on this game and develop whatever it is, but it is the first new IP developed by Bethesda Game Studios in 25 years. That's a long time, and they've made a really big deal about that fact. Presumably it's the next game beyond Fallout 76 that they're working on. We don't know exactly, but there's some interesting things going on there. It's sci-fi, so it's different to what we've seen in our post-apocalyptic setting of Fallout or our very fantasy-based Elder Scrolls franchises. I'm keen to see what they're doing with that going forward. Next, we'll talk about The Elder Scrolls 6, which there was about a 10, 15, maybe 20 second long tease there, where they just gave us the name and we saw some beautifully rendered mountains. But that gave me the best, strongest reaction of anything they showed at that conference. It's instantly shot to near the top of my most anticipated games list. I may have to wait another 5 years before I get to play it, but let me play it, alright? And lastly, Doom Eternal, which got some fist pumps from me, several others on Twitter, all over the internet. Doom was a massive release when it came out only a couple of years ago. It's been really successful, people love it, people have been clamoring for more, and Bethesda are giving us more in the form of Doom Eternal. Who knows when that releases, but there was a really cool looking CG trailer there that kind of highlighted the fact that things are just getting uglier and uglier and more demons, and things are just going to get more and more chaotic. There's plenty to be excited for there. Here's hoping it comes out next year. So next we'll focus on some of the things that were not so great about this Bethesda conference. There was only 2 things, and the first of those is Elder Scrolls Legends. We don't need to see this card game anymore. It's cool that it's going to be coming to consoles in the near future. It's cool that it's been really successful on the mobile platform, on the PC, but your typical audience who is watching a Bethesda or really any E3 conference is not that interested in card-based games. There's a small market there, and they love those sort of things, but they're not coming to your conference to watch that, so don't bog us down with too much of that sort of stuff. It can kill momentum. And the other thing is Quake Champions. People are really enjoying Quake Champions. They actually announced some cool things, like there's a free trial that's available for the next week, beginning about now. You can get out there and go and play it and experience it and see what there is to see in this game. People are really excited about that. But there's such a missed opportunity with this game. Quake Champions should have a single player. And at the very least, if it's not going to do that and it's going to remain kind of multiplayer centric, it should be on the PS4 and the Xbox One. I'm not saying that your console experience is going to be comparable to the PC. Clearly PC players have a massive advantage. Maybe, like we've seen in so many games over so many years, PS4 players play against PS4 players, Xbox players play against Xbox players, and you don't have that cross-pollination, but it means that everyone's on a level pegging. It's a great opportunity to really expand the vision of this game, and it's one they've kind of dropped the ball on and not taken advantage of like they should. We'll finally talk about the ugly parts of the Bethesda conference, and to be honest, there's not much. I'm really focusing on one thing here, and it is the bad jokes. There was a lot of attempts at humour here, something you don't typically expect from most press conferences. Ubisoft leans into it every now and then. Bethesda has made its own little jokes in the past, but they really tried to double down on comedy here, some simple little skits, and 90% of the stuff did not work. It was really only when Todd Howard got out there and he started focusing on Fallout and kind of some of the jokes that people have made at Bethesda's expense over the years where things start to improve. And that was still quite late into the overall conference. We'd seen a lot of attempts there that fell flat. The production value didn't quite work. There was some audio issues there that meant they were clearly waiting for applause or laughter from the crowd, and it just created this awkward pause and silence. It didn't work very well, and the jokes themselves weren't all that funny until Todd arrived. Maybe just rein it in a bit next to you guys.
All right, before we begin, yes, Mom, I'm still alive. No, I'm not a mimic.
Hang on. There. I just want to make sure nobody tries to smack you because I saw Pete Hines with a wrench backstage a second ago.
Thank you, Ricardo. That's very sweet of you.
And so that concludes another E3 special of The Insider. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please consider liking, sharing and subscribing. All those buttons are down below here, and that'll allow you access to weekly episodes of Patched, the Video Games Club, The Insider, Player 2 Plays, The Late Game Review, and a whole bunch of our E3 content. Make sure to jump on the site, check it out, hit that notification bell. You'll be alerted to every video as it goes live. For written content, make sure to visit the website player2.net.au where you'll find reviews, previews, opinion pieces, news, features, the Player 2 Writers Draft, our E3 hub that has these videos, as well as much more. It can all be found there, so please make sure to go and check it out. We're on Patreon as well, patreon.com/player2au. Kick in a few dollars. At the lower tiers, you'll get early access to a whole range of episodes, including Patched, The Games Club, The Insider, and much more. And at higher tiers, you'll get exclusive access to month-long exclusives of Patched or The Insider or more. And at the top tier, you can join us in the monthly Player 2 podcast. There's some great incentives there. You're helping the Player 2 dream grow. Thank you in advance for your support. For rolling updates, you can find me at PaulJamesP2 on Twitter. The website you can find at Player2AU on Twitter. And until next time, that is another E3 conference done. We've got Square, we've got Ubisoft, we've got Sony, we've got Nintendo to go. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you later.